We're living in a cesspool of glorified slavery here in the West. What's going on is that as time moves forward, as time passes, nothing's going to get cheaper. The economy is going to get worse, all right? And so what's going to happen is these companies, these corporations are going to need more and more people, especially as the older generations begin to get elderly and retire. So they're going to need more young people in the workforce to, feed their corporate greed. So what's going to happen is that what they want is they're breeding everybody. They're preparing everybody in this here in the West, in the United States. They're preparing everybody, all right? They're preparing younger generations for slavery. They're preparing younger generations to be slaves. Everything you've learned, everything they're learning in school, okay, everything they're teaching in colleges, all right? And I know I went to college, so I know that about 85 to 90% of the material I learned in college, they didn't teach me. It was just learn this, regurgitate it, type on this Excel document, make this PowerPoint slide, present a certain way, and we'll give you points. Good job. Here's your grade. Even the professors, the office hours, okay, they weren't helpful at all. They're pulled in 200 different directions, tons of papers to grade, tons of TAs to communicate with, deadlines. A lot of these professors, the school I went to, they're working on their thesis and they're, writing a book or something. So they're pulled in, like I said, 200 different directions. They don't care if you learn or not. All they want is you to get a good grade so that they look good, so that they don't lose their damn job. It's a business. College is a business. You probably already knew that though. But my whole point here is that everything I learned was preparing me to be a slave. Everything I learned was preparing me to go into the workforce, okay, to enter into some, corporation, hypothetically, if I were to do that. And it was all done, all these institutions, all they do is prepare you to be a slave, to gripe at some boss's feet, to get money. I think I talked about this before, this part right here. To get money that you aren't even getting paid enough for. To get money that you aren't getting enough of it. So you're going to be a slave to get paid, underpaid, to work for somebody who has a terrible attitude, who hates their life and their career. And you paid thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars to get an education to get into an institution where you'll be a slave. So you've been in this, here in the West especially, all they want you to be born and basically be schooled and formed and hammered into somebody who's willing to be a slave around the clock. A lot of people who work remote especially, they don't get days off. They're on call. They have emails to answer. If someone calls them at 3 a.m. from another country, they have to answer it. Because if they don't, they'll be dealing with it on the back end the next day, and then it'll get them behind. So they have no choice but to, be a slave and answer the phone call from their, the other part, another office in another part of the country or the world. And then they complain they don't get enough sleep, and then they start doing bad habits, and then it's a cycle, the stress, right? Because there's so many people out here who are slaves, and they gave up, or they didn't even begin to try to make something for themselves, to form a name for themselves, or to start or create something. Right? There's a saying that goes, if you don't build your own dream, you're gonna find yourself you're gonna end up helping someone else build theirs. If you don't build your own dream, you're gonna spend your life helping somebody else build theirs. And so many people do that, So many people spend their lives not even thinking about what they wanted to do, what their dream was going to be. You know, some people don't even know, a lot of people don't even know what it is that they don't even know themselves. They don't know their interests. They don't have a gift or a talent. They don't even know they have one. They never took the time to discover themselves to see if they, if they could cultivate one. And so our older generations, like our parents, your grandparents, yeah, sure, they had more materially, of course. But they hammered it into you to basically, they passed it down. They passed down the idea, the concept of you have to be a slave as well. Because we did it, so you have to as well. And that's all they know, right? Why do you think the older... Listen to this. Listen to this. Why do you think the older generations adore old-time pop star singers? And why do you think the older generations, revere actors and actresses from their time, from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s? You know why? Because those actors and actresses found their talent and pursued it, and they were famous. And they pretty much inspired your parents and your grandparents and your great-grandparents that there was something bigger than just the life they were living. But here's the thing. Your grandparents and your great-grandparents and your parents didn't do anything. They had no action. They were still going to that job. They were still locked into the matrix, plugged in. They didn't believe in themselves. Hell, I bet most of them didn't even love themselves. Okay? Your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, etc., relatives, aunts, uncles, great-aunts, great-uncles. But when they saw these actors and actresses and singers and country songs and, who are some of the most famous people that these older generations really, really revere? I'm just going to rattle off a few. Bob Dylan, Shirley Temple, Lucille Ball, I don't know, Arctic Monkeys, the Beatles, I don't know, I'm drawing a blank on a lot of these people. But you get the point, all these actors and actresses, George C. Scott, Peter O'Toole, Peter O'Toole, just old timers, even bands and artists, like Midnight Oil and yeah, I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. I apologize. I'm drawing a blank. But there's so many. Okay. There's so many. What's the other one? I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now, but there's so many. I used to listen to them too. Tony Bennett, he's a big one. A lot of old folks like Tony Bennett. I'm drawing a blank. You guys get the idea. Your parents, your great grandparents, your older relatives, your older people in your family. They really, really had a lot of respect for these people because these people pretty much showed them that you can, rise above and break through the matrix. You can forge a path and inspire people and create. That's a big one. Creation. But the thing is that, like I said, your parents, your great-grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, they didn't do anything. They weren't interested. They didn't do anything to get there. They were just stuck in their matrix job. And they're like, oh, Tony Bennett's a great artist, for example, okay? Or Shirley Temple, I used to watch her growing up all the time. Or, maybe your grandmothers watch the Golden Girls. The Golden Girls. Or, Maybe the older men in your family watch Gunsmoke and the Andy Griffith Show. You know, these old timer shows. Okay, Gunsmoke, Andy Griffith Show. Golden Girls. Magnum PI or PI Magnum. You know, James Bond even. You know, he went way back. You know, DC Comics. You know, Batman, Dark Knight. The original ones, the old ones with I don't want to say Heath Ledger, though, even the ones older than that, that go further back. All these relatives, all your people in your family, I guarantee, watch these shows. The older folks in your family, I guarantee. I know all mine did, and a lot of people have watched these shows and know these actors and actresses and these artists, these singers, these musicians. You know, these band groups. Okay, and they were inspired, but they didn't do anything. So my whole point here, this message today is I'm trying to say is they're breeding the younger generations, my generation, okay, the generation undermine, okay, to be slaves because they don't want us to forge our own path. They don't want us to branch off and make our own money. You know, they want us to be stuck. And these corporations are desperate. They see what's going to happen in, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. There's going to be no more workers. There's going to be no. They're basically going to be on their knees begging people, giving all these incentives for you to be a slave. Either that, and or it's probably going to be the same. Actually, both. They're going to do that, and they're going to. In schools, they're going to teach you that you have to get a job, and you have to do this. You have to work a 9 to 5. You have to have a salary income. You have to go to college. Even though, as time goes on, no one's going to tell you this, but as time goes forward, college is losing its value. There's so many people who just graduated college this past summer. Okay, a month and a half ago, they're not getting jobs. No one's hiring them. Okay. Including myself, I still work minimum wage because, it's near impossible. Nobody's hiring for salary for you because you need experience to build experience. And again, yeah, they want people to be slaves. They want people to be plugged into their matrix. But these older generations don't want to deal with my generation. Even if we're fresh out of college, they don't care. They want people like them who have been doing this for years and years and years. That's why you see so many older folks, people who should be retired. They're still working. They're still working at corporations. They're still being senior managers. They're still coaching groups and, being supervisors at these companies and at these big box stores and everything. They're getting paid salary. And they have gray hair. They have white hair and gray hair. Maybe they're retired, maybe they're not. It doesn't matter. They're still working and they're getting paid a lot. Whereas people like you and I, who are looking, or we haven't even tried, right? Because we already know the narrative that's going around. And if you haven't been looking for jobs personally, well, I'm not stressed out about it. I'm doing fine working at where I'm working at now, McDonald's. I could care less. But there's a lot of people who, I've heard personally, I have coworkers who told me that even they're applying to be bank tellers, okay? They're not hiring. They have and these coworkers also have a degree, like accounting degree, a business major. Some are certified. I haven't encountered a lot of people my age with certifications, but there's been a couple I've run into who actually have a certification. And no one will hire. So that's how I know. This is how I know what's coming. Because right now, they want older people. They want people with experience who can actually generate a lot of money for them. But then when these older people say, you know what, we're too old, we can't work no more, we're done. We're too old, we're retired, we are done. Throw in the towel, collect their pension and leave. Never come back. These corporations, these businesses are going to scramble for more people, for labor. And what's going to happen is a lot of people aren't going to be applying to these jobs anymore because these jobs have let so many people down. The older generations, not to complain here, I'm just saying a fact, a plain old fact. The older generations have been so greedy that it's ruined a lot of things, or present moment, it's ruined a lot of things. It's ruining a lot of opportunities for people. And it's a domino effect. Ruined opportunities now, it's going to spoil it for the future down the road because everybody's behind now. And so what they're going to do is the society is going to start to look for even younger generations and schools and start grooming them to be, slaves, and get them ready to, put them in the workforce, because our generation and the millennials wouldn't do it because we've been let down, in so many ways, I guess, in terms of income and jobs. Personally, speaking about this topic today, I thought it was interesting because I want to talk about it. I'm not butthurt about anything. To me, this is part of the plan. This is good. This is part of my journey. But there might be people out there who actually are really bitter, and who their lives actually might be turning upside down because they were told by their parents that if they get a salary, they go to college, they can get a salary job and life will be puppies and rainbows. But it's not. And so for those of you out there, this specifically, I'm talking to chosen ones, because we have even a harder time, okay, getting jobs and keeping jobs. Our stability is very, very rocky because of who we are as people, as men and women, whether you're older or younger. This is for everybody. Timeless message. People don't like us. Like I said in my previous video I made, people don't like you. They can't control you. They know that you shine them, right? One of the 48 laws of power was never outshine the master. We never try and outshine the master, but we do without even trying. The second we walk in the room, they don't like us just because we exist. Therefore, these bosses, these jobs are really, really bitter toward us because we show up, we're not prideful. We drive beat up cars. We wear whatever we can find, wherever we can get at stores, sales, thrift stores. Okay? We shine. We shine really, really bright. And they don't like that. They can't believe it, It takes them years to get to where we are, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And even then, they're not chosen. So, they're not set apart. They're not different, to put that in simple terms. So, that's the message for today, is that they don't want you to be independent. They don't want you to branch out and try and forge your own path. My goal as a young man is to hopefully one day, I want to be the man that needs no one. I don't want to go to work. Hopefully, I won't have to go to work. And I don't want to, because whenever I go to work, again, I'm not complaining here, I'm just saying, whenever I go to work, it's like a nightmare. Sometimes I wonder why I clock in. And so, we do our best, but it's never enough. And they want us to be slaves, You work harder, you try harder, you hustle, you walk faster, you're nicer to customers. You try and get your numbers up. You try and help other people get their numbers up and their drive times down. Their drive-through clocks down. You try and help people. You put the extra sauce in the bag for them. You get the stickers ready. You do things that other coworkers don't do. You still get yelled at. You still get picked apart. You still get pulled aside. You still get I bet this happens to you a lot. You still get we need to talk. Hey, could you come here a second? Every time that happens, And what's so funny is that these bosses that do that, they pull you aside and talk to you like that, alright? And they go like, this is what's happened to me. A little story real quick. I get pulled aside and the boss will be like, I'll start to question. I'll be like, are you sure that's what happened, sir? Are you sure that's what happened, ma'am? And they're like, then they play defense. They go, oh, I'm just a messenger. That's just what I was told. I don't know. I wasn't there. That's just what I was told. The second you question what they try and throw at you, the criticism, the lies, the gaslighting, they immediately deflect it to someone else. Oh, Bethany over there told me. I'm just saying what she told me, and she said that she noticed that someone told her, or someone noticed it, and she overheard them, and now she's telling me. You know, they never have evidence, but they are more than happy to pull you aside and say, "Hey, I got a problem. Hey, we have a problem. Hey, these people have problem with you." You know, and so I think that's hilarious. Every time that happens, I laugh inside because I'm just like, well, what do you want me to do? I've been doing my best over here. Um, I've been showing you through action. But anyways, maybe the similar things have happened to you. But push through. Please don't give up. Don't fall victim to the Matrix thing where they're telling you have to be a slave and this is the only route you can take, and you can't be an entrepreneur or you can't try. Start that business and fail and then start again. Don't listen to people who tell you that their programming is there's only one option. There's never one option. And so yeah, I've talked to people before. I don't know if they were chosen or not. I don't think they were. It was hard for me to tell, but I talked to one gentleman and he was telling me that he was a teacher for a while. He taught elementary school and he couldn't stand it anymore because of all the games they'd play and how corrupt the system is. Even the school system is so corrupt. School districts corrupt. And he spoke up about it and he got thrown under the bus. He got persecuted, so he had to resign. And he's like, you know what? I found out that I can no longer, I'm leaving the Matrix. So he forged his own path. He started writing books or something. Or he was a freelancer. I think he was a freelancer. But anyways, guys, hopefully that inspires you. Appreciate y'all being here. That's the message. There's always other options. Please don't fall prey to the slavery narrative where you're not a slave. You are not a slave.